In today's episode,
Daily Stoic Principles, Timeless Wisdom for Work and Life by Victor Odisnak.
All right, let's jump right in.
Sounds good to me.
So we've got these excerpts from Daily Stoic Principles, Timeless Wisdom for Work and Life.
By Victor Odisnak.
By Victor Odisnak. And it's all about Stoicism
It is.
and how we can use it in our lives today.
Yeah, a philosophy for modern life.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting topic, especially because Stoicism has been around for centuries.
Right, it's not a new thing.
It's not a new thing, but it seems like it's having a resurgence.
It really does feel like that.
Yeah.
Like it's become more and more popular in recent years.
Yeah, I think it's because it offers something that's timeless, principles and practices that people have found helpful for hundreds of years.
It's not just another self-help fad.
Right.
It feels much deeper than that.
Yeah, it's about finding meaning and purpose in life, even when things are tough.
Mm-hmm. And the book starts with that really compelling story about the author's father
Oh, yeah.
growing up in post-war Spain.
Facing some real hardships,
Right.
but always seemed to focus on what he could control.
Even amidst all the chaos and uncertainty.
Exactly, and that really highlights a core aspect of Stoicism,
Which is?
that it's not about passively accepting whatever life throws at you.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that even in the face of adversity, we still have a choice.
A choice in how we respond.
Exactly.
So it's less about trying to change our external circumstances
Right.
and more about mastering our internal world.
You could put it that way.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does this actually work?
Well, the book describes Stoicism as like a lifeline
Okay.
in today's chaotic world. It's
Mhm.
like a set of principles and practices that can help us find stability and meaning.
Amidst all the uncertainty and craziness.
exactly.
All right, I'm ready to grab onto this lifeline.
Okay.
But let's break it down a bit.
Sure.
Because the book mentions these three main principles.
Yeah.
Virtue, resilience, and acceptance.
Yeah.
And honestly, those terms sound a bit, well, philosophical.
A little bit, yeah.
So how do those actually translate to our everyday lives?
That's a great question, and it's something a lot of people wonder about when they first encounter Stoicism. So let's start with virtue,
Okay.
because in Stoicism, virtue isn't about being like a goody two-shoes
Yeah.
or following a bunch of rigid rules.
Okay.
It's about striving to live in accordance with reason and ethics.
So making choices that align with our values.
Yeah, and aiming for moral excellence in everything you do.
So it's not just about doing the right thing because someone's watching, but because it genuinely reflects who you are.
That's it.
Okay, I can see how that's powerful.
It is, and it can have a real impact on how we interact with the world around us.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, imagine a colleague is struggling with a complex project, right?
It happens all the time.
Yeah, so a Stoic approach wouldn't be to ignore their struggles or see it as an opportunity to get ahead.
Okay.
It would be to offer support, not out of obligation, but because it's the virtuous thing to do.
So you're helping them not because you expect something in return,
Right.
but because it's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
And this isn't just about being nice, is it?
No, it's about building your character and contributing to a more positive and ethical work environment.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So what about resilience? That seems like a pretty essential quality these days.
absolutely. And in Stoicism, resilience isn't just about gritting your teeth and powering through tough times.
Okay.
It's about viewing obstacles as opportunities for growth,
Okay.
reframing setbacks as learning experiences.
So instead of dwelling on a failed project, you'd analyze what happened
Yeah.
and use it to improve your approach next time.
Exactly. And it's not about ignoring those negative emotions that come with challenges. It's about not letting them paralyze you.
I could see how that would be really helpful, especially when we're dealing with a lot of stress and pressure.
It is, and it takes practice.
But the idea is to turn those failures into fuel for growth, right?
That's the idea.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we've got virtue and resilience.
Mhm.
What about acceptance?
That's a big one, and it's often misunderstood.
Yeah, because it sounds like you're just giving up.
Right, but that's not what it means in Stoicism.
Oh,
Acceptance doesn't mean being passive or resigning yourself to a bad situation.
so what does it mean?
It's about recognizing and embracing what you can't control
Right.
while focusing your energy on what you can.
So instead of getting all stressed out about a delayed flight, you'd accept that it's beyond your control
Right.
and focus on making the most of the situation.
Exactly. Like maybe you can catch up on some reading
Mhm.
or listen to a podcast.
Right. Find something productive to do.
Yeah. Or even just take a moment to relax and breathe.
Okay, so it's about choosing your battles,
Mm-hmm.
not wasting energy on things you can't change.
That's a good way to put it.
All right, so we've got these 3 core principles: virtue, resilience, and acceptance.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put them into practice?
Well, that's where the Stoic habits come in, because
Like-
the book talks about incorporating these specific habits into our daily lives.
Right. I remember reading about that.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that these habits are surprisingly simple,
Okay.
yet incredibly powerful when practiced consistently.
So what are some of the highlights?
Which habits really stand out to you?
One that I found both intriguing and challenging is negative visualization,
Yes, that one always gets people thinking.
because it sounds a bit, well, pessimistic.
It does, right.
Like, why would we want to focus on negative things?
But hear me out.
Okay.
Negative visualization isn't about dwelling on negativity.
So what is it about?
It's about cultivating gratitude for what you have by contemplating what you could lose.
Oh, I see.
It's like a mental exercise in perspective.
So you're imagining the worst case scenario,
Mm,
not to freak yourself out,
right.
but to appreciate what you have even more.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see how that would be helpful.
It can be, and it doesn't have to be anything elaborate.
Like, what would be an example?
Let's say you're feeling stressed about a presentation at work.
Okay, I've been there.
Yeah, so take a moment to visualize the worst case scenario.
Like, I totally bombed the presentation.
Yeah,
My boss is disappointed,
right.
and I end up losing my job.
It's the ultimate fear.
Right, but then what?
Now, shift your focus to what you'd still have. Your health,
Mm-hmm.
your loved ones,
Yeah.
the skills and experiences you've gained.
I see. So it's about putting things in perspective,
Exactly.
reminding yourself of the good things in your life.
And not taking them for granted.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah,
It's like a mental vaccine against taking things for granted.
I like that analogy.
What else?
What other habits are you curious about?
Well, the book also talks about morning meditation
Yes, a classic Stoic practice.
with a Stoic twist, right?
Right.
Because it's not about emptying your mind or anything like that.
No, it's not about achieving some mystical state.
Okay.
It's about starting the day with clarity
Okay.
by intentionally focusing on what you can control.
So instead of hitting snooze and scrolling through social media,
Yeah, which is so tempting.
it is.
You take a few moments to set your intentions for the day
Okay.
and remind yourself of your values.
So it's about taking control of your mindset from the get-go,
Exactly.
approaching the day with a sense of purpose,
And resilience.
rather than letting external circumstances dictate your mood.
Right, because those circumstances are going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, that's a really powerful way to start the day.
It can be.
Okay, and I'm guessing journaling plays a role too, right?
Journaling is huge in Stoicism.
I find that putting my thoughts down on paper can be really helpful.
Yeah, it's a great way to process things.
But in a Stoic context, it's not just about venting or complaining, right?
No, it's about self-reflection.
Okay.
It's about examining your thoughts, emotions, and reactions to situations.
Gaining a deeper understanding of yourself. So you're using your journal to analyze your responses and identify areas for growth,
Yeah, it's like having a conversation with yourself,
but on paper.
but on paper, right?
Okay, that's starting to paint a clearer picture of how Stoicism can be applied in a practical way.
I'm glad to hear that.
So what other habits does the book suggest?
Well, there's living virtuously,
Okay.
which, as we talked about earlier, is about aligning your actions with those core Stoic virtues.
So it's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. It's about integrating those virtues into every aspect of your life.
From how you interact with others to how you make decisions.
Right, and it doesn't have to be about grand gestures or heroic acts.
Okay.
It can be about simple things,
Like
being honest in your dealings,
mm-hmm.
standing up for what you believe in,
Sure.
or treating everyone with respect, even when they're difficult.
Those are powerful examples.
Yeah.
They're things we can all do
Exactly. It's about making those small choices
every day.
that add up to a life of virtue.
Okay, what about mindfulness? I've heard a lot about the benefits of mindfulness.
Yeah, it's become really popular.
But how does it connect to Stoicism?
It's a crucial part of Stoicism.
Really?
Yeah, because it's about being fully present in the moment,
Okay.
paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment.
So it helps you stay grounded.
Yeah, it's like an anchor in the midst of the storm.
Especially in those high-stress situations.
Exactly. Taking a moment to breathe and ground yourself can make a huge difference.
It's like hitting the pause button
Yeah,
and giving yourself a chance to reset.
that's a good way to put it.
Okay, so we've covered negative visualization, morning meditation, journaling, living virtuously, and mindful breathing.
Quite a list.
What about the last habit? I'm intrigued to see how Stoicism approaches the end of the day.
Ah, yes, the evening reflection.
Okay, tell me about it.
It's about taking a few moments before bed to review your day.
So it's like a nightly debrief.
Yeah, but instead of dwelling on what went wrong,
Okay, you're also acknowledging your accomplishments.
no matter how small,
Exactly. It's about celebrating those wins.
and using them to fuel your growth.
That's it.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these seemingly simple habits can create a really powerful ripple effect in our lives.
That's the beauty of Stoicism. It's not about becoming a Stoic sage overnight.
Right.
It's about making small, consistent changes.
That, over time, can lead to a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
You got it.
This has been incredibly insightful.
I'm glad you're finding it helpful.
I'm really curious, though, because the book dedicates a whole chapter to applying Stoicism in the workplace.
It does.
Why do you think that is?
Well, think about it. The workplace is often a breeding ground for stress,
Yeah,
pressure,
definitely.
interpersonal conflicts.
It can be a real pressure cooker sometimes.
It can, and in today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and lose sight of what truly matters.
So, Stoicism offers a way to navigate those challenges with more clarity and composure. Yeah, and maybe even a bit more joy.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready to explore how this works.
Let's do it.
Let's dive into the Stoic workplace. Okay, so we're talking about the Stoic workplace.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because when I think of Stoicism, I think about individual strength and resilience,
Right.
not necessarily like the hustle and bustle of an office.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Well, it might seem counterintuitive, but Stoicism can be incredibly valuable in the workplace.
Really?
Yeah, think about it.
Okay.
Work is where we face a lot of challenges.
Yeah, deadlines and difficult colleagues.
Exactly. And Stoicism gives us tools
Okay.
to deal with those challenges more effectively.
Like what kind of tools?
Well, one that comes to mind is the Stoic approach to criticism.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Nobody likes being criticized.
Especially at work?
Right, where it feels like our performance is constantly being evaluated.
So how does Stoicism help us with that?
Well, it encourages us to view criticism,
Even the harsh kind.
yeah, as an opportunity for growth, instead of taking it personally.
Yeah, because it's easy to get defensive.
It is, we're human.
But how do we do that?
Well, Stoicism teaches us to ask ourselves,
Right.
Is there any truth to this feedback?
Even if it's not delivered in the best way.
Exactly. Can I learn something from this?
So it's about separating the message from the messenger,
Yeah, focusing on the potential for growth.
rather than getting caught up in the emotion.
It's a real shift in perspective.
Yeah.
But it can make a big difference.
Doesn't the book actually mention a study
It does.
that found a link between embracing feedback and career success?
Yeah, researchers at the University of Washington found that individuals who are open to feedback,
Even the negative stuff.
even the negative stuff, are more likely to advance in their careers.
That's fascinating.
It suggests that being receptive to feedback,
Even when it's tough.
yeah, can actually help you grow and succeed.
That's really interesting.
It is, and it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because if you're not open to hearing how you can improve, then you're likely to stay stuck.
That's a good point.
So embracing feedback, even when it's uncomfortable, is a key part of growth.
Okay, so we've talked about criticism. What about stress?
Ah, stress, the modern epidemic.
It really does feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, but Stoicism has a lot to say about managing stress.
Okay. Give me more.
One of the most fundamental principles
Mhm.
is focusing on what you can control.
Okay.
So instead of getting overwhelmed by everything on your to-do list,
Which is so easy to do.
you break down those tasks.
And the smaller steps.
Exactly. You shift your focus
From the overwhelming big picture,
to the actions you can take right now.
because you can't control everything, right?
Right, but you can control your effort
Your attitude.
and your approach.
That sounds incredibly practical.
It is, and it's backed by research.
Really?
Yeah, the American Psychological Association did
Yeah.
a lot of research on stress management.
And what do they find?
That people who use techniques like focusing on what they can control report lower levels of stress burnout and anxiety.
So it's not just a bunch of philosophical mumbo-jumbo.
No, it actually works.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah, because it means that we have the power to manage our stress in a healthy way.
So what about when things don't go according to plan?
Yes. The inevitable setbacks.
Right, the failures that we all encounter.
Yeah, that's where resilience comes in.
All right.
Which, as we've discussed, is a core principle in Stoicism.
Right, but how do we actually cultivate resilience?
Especially when we're feeling discouraged.
Yeah.
Well, Stoicism teaches us to change our relationship with failure.
Okay.
Instead of viewing setbacks as personal defeats.
Yeah, or signs that we're not good enough.
Exactly.
Right.
Stoicism encourages us to see them as opportunities.
Opportunities for what?
For learning and growth.
So instead of letting a failed project completely derail you,
Right.
you'd use it as a chance to analyze what went wrong.
Exactly.
Identify areas for improvement.
And come back stronger next time.
Like that growth mindset idea?
It is. And research shows that this growth mindset is a key predictor of success.
Interesting.
Yeah. There was a study at the University of Pennsylvania that found that resilient individuals are more likely to persevere.
And achieve their goals.
Even in the face of challenges.
So setbacks don't have to define us.
No, they don't.
They can actually become stepping stones
Yeah.
on our path to success.
That's the Stoic perspective.
I like that. Now, before we move on, I want to talk about something that I think is really important.
Okay.
Finding meaning and purpose in our work.
Yeah, that's huge.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in the daily grind.
It is the deadlines, the emails.
And lose sight of the bigger picture.
So how does Stoicism help us with that?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, Stoicism encourages us to align our actions with our values.
Even at work.
Even at work, it's about asking ourselves, what do I truly care about?
Okay.
How can I contribute to something larger than myself?
So it's not just about climbing the corporate ladder.
Right. It's about finding work that resonates with your values.
Work that allows you to use your skills and talents.
To make a positive impact.
Even if you're not in your dream job right now.
Yeah, even then.
You can still find meaning in your work?
You can by focusing on the aspects you do find fulfilling.
Those little pockets of purpose.
Exactly.
Like that.
The ancient Stoics wrote a lot about this.
Really?
Yeah, they emphasized the importance of finding meaning in our daily tasks.
Even the mundane ones.
Even the mundane ones.
That's a good reminder.
It is, because purpose isn't always found in grand gestures.
Right.
It can be found in the small acts of service.
The moments of connection.
Exactly. The ways in which we show up.
And contribute.
Even in the most ordinary of tasks.
So it's about finding those moments and really appreciating them.
Yeah, because those moments are where we can connect with the essence of Stoicism.
Finding strength and resilience and even joy.
In the midst of the everyday.
I love that now I know that the book also delves into the personal side of Stoicism.
It does?
With a focus on self-reflection.
Yeah.
I'm really eager to explore that aspect further.
Okay.
Let's dive in.
Yeah.
So we've talked about how Stoicism can be really valuable in the workplace.
Yeah.
But I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and dive into the more personal side of Stoicism.
Yeah.
You know,
sounds good.
The book spends a lot of time talking about self-reflection.
It does.
Which I think is crucial for growth.
Definitely.
But honestly, sometimes just getting through the day feels like a marathon, you know?
I know what you mean.
Where do we even find the time for self-reflection?
That's a good question, and I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
But the good news is Stoic self-reflection doesn't have to be this big, time-consuming thing.
Okay.
It can be woven into your daily life.
Okay, I like that.
Even in small moments.
So how do we do that?
Yeah.
What are some of the techniques?
Well, one that's really powerful is assessing your values through the lens of the Stoic virtues.
Okay, remind me what those are again.
So wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance.
Right. Those four.
So it's not just about like thinking back on your day and being like, oh, I should have done this differently.
Right.
It's about actually using those Stoic principles
as a framework.
Yeah, to evaluate your choices.
Exactly.
So how does that work in practice?
Well, let's say you're faced with a tough decision.
Okay.
At work.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you witnessed something unethical.
Okay.
And you're not sure whether to speak up.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is, because you know that speaking up could have negative consequences.
For sure.
But staying silent might compromise your integrity.
Right. So how do the Stoic virtues come into play here?
Well, you might ask yourself,
Yeah.
Does speaking up require courage, even in the face of potential backlash?
Mm-hmm.
Would staying silent compromise my integrity?
Okay.
Is it just to allow this behavior to continue?
Right. It's about really examining the situation
Is there that ethical lens?
through the lens of those virtues. Exactly. And by reflecting on your actions in this way, you can make choices that are more aligned with your values.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's really hard.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we see a lack of today.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
there are so many examples of people making decisions that maybe aren't so ethical.
Yeah, and maybe if more people took the time to really reflect on their actions and motivations, we might see a shift.
Toward more ethical behavior.
It's possible.
It's something to think about.
It is.
Now, the book also talks about reflecting on our goals.
It does.
Or aspirations.
Yeah, because Stoicism also encourages us to think about what we're striving for.
Okay.
And why.
So is it about like making sure those goals are actually aligned with what we care about?
Exactly.
Not just what society tells us we should want.
Yeah, it's about distinguishing between goals that are driven by external validation.
Okay.
Like chasing a promotion just for the title.
Okay.
Or a bigger paycheck. And those that are rooted in your intrinsic values.
So it's about asking yourself, why do I want this?
Yeah.
Is it truly meaningful to me, or am I just seeking approval from others?
That's a great question to ask yourself.
It is.
Yeah.
And how do we do that?
Well, journaling can be a really powerful tool for that.
Okay, again, like we talked about earlier, it's about actually putting pen to paper.
It is. And the book connects this to a specific Stoic practice called hupexeresis.
Hupexeresis.
I know it's a mouthful.
It is. What does that mean?
It means choice or moral choice.
Okay.
And it highlights this idea that while we can't always control what happens to us,
Right.
we always have control over our judgments and our responses.
Okay, so even when life throws us a curveball,
Yeah.
we still have a choice in how we react.
Exactly. And journaling can help us become more conscious of those choices.
Okay, so by writing down our thoughts,
And feeling.
we can start to see patterns
Yeah, identify those triggers.
that lead to those negative emotions.
And ultimately make more intentional choices.
That's really powerful.
It is, and it's something that we can all do.
Yeah.
It's not complicated.
It's simple, but it takes effort.
It does.
I have to ask about something that really surprised me in the book.
Okay.
The connection between Stoicism and AI.
Oh, yeah.
That was really unexpected.
It might seem a little strange at first,
Yeah.
but AI can actually be a really powerful tool
Okay.
for enhancing our Stoic practice.
Okay, how so?
Well, remember that app we talked about, StoicWise?
Yeah, the one that's like having a virtual Stoic mentor in your pocket.
Exactly. So imagine you're struggling with a dilemma.
Like that ethical situation we talked about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not sure how to approach it from a Stoic perspective.
Mm-mm.
You can open the app,
Okay.
and you have access to the wisdom of Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus.
Wow, that's really amazing.
It is.
It's like bringing those ancient philosophers into the modern world.
And it's not just about advice. These apps can actually help us build those Stoic habits.
Okay.
And we talked about journaling, practicing mindful breathing.
Right, the things we were just discussing.
Exactly. And even guide us through a negative visualization exercise.
So it's like having a personal Stoic coach.
Yeah, right there on your phone.
This has been such an incredible exploration.
It has.
And we've covered so much.
Yeah.
From the core principles of Stoicism to how it can be applied in our work lives.
In our relationships.
Our personal lives.
Yeah.
We even talked about AI.
It's amazing how relevant Stoicism is.
It really is.
To our lives today.
Yes.
And it's not about becoming some kind of emotionless robot.
Right.
It's about learning to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and strength.
And finding that inner peace.
Yeah.
So we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive.
I hope it's inspired you.
To learn more about Stoicism.
And maybe even incorporate some of its principles.
Into your own life.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
You've listened to our latest episode of Right Here, Right Now